I guess
We're live.
We're live. Hey guys. Yeah.
But not live.
We're not
posting.
live. I've got another podcast with Michael.
Oh, yeah.
One. Yes. Cool. So, welcome to the Heroic Play episode. I don't remember. And we have guest Reagan here. He is a competitive farmers player, competitive border player, and competitive shepherds player. Butchers as well.
Shepherds. Played Masons early in the day.
Oh, wow.
Masons was my first team. Yeah,
He's pretty much a guild ball player where you have like
That's
20
right.
guilds.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
I have all the guilds. When they
Yeah.
announced that the game was dying the first time, I
You
bought
picked it
everything.
all up.
I was like, it's a game.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
Let's see.
And a great painter, by the way.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful paint.
That's why I do it.
Yeah. Show it off.
Yeah. That's right.
Any other games that you've been playing competitively in the past or today?
No, so when Guild Ball died, I played. I got into Marvel Crisis Protocol, but mostly just for painting. Like Kevin said, I like to paint stuff. And then I also have been painting a lot of Shatterpoint. I like the Shatterpoint system for just friendly play, not competitive play. But then Guild Ball came back, so now I've been kind of pivoting hard back into painting all my Guild Ball stuff that I left unpainted for so long.
Yeah.
So.
And what have you been playing since the game's been back?
We just had a tournament and I played my Butchers back at that because that was the team that I was kind of like more in competitively before COVID. Right up to COVID though, I was playing Order competitively, and honestly, I just didn't want to play Order my first tournament back because I feel like Order is
It's a lot of thinking.
well, not even that. It's just a solitary team.
Yeah.
Like I'm playing my own puzzle. You happen to be at a table where I'm trying to solve this puzzle of scoring 3 goals, and I didn't feel like that was very
Interactive?
interactive, not interactive.
Just murder them.
Yeah, so I just I'm all for the negative player. So that was my that was my advice going into like Guild Ball in general. Is I got into Guild Ball because some friends at the store were like, "Hey, you should try this. This will be fun." So I started with Masons. That was 2016. So that would have been like late season 1 probably.
Dang.
I started with Masons, liked it a lot, and then I was like, I really like killing things. And then season 2 Filet was like the meta, so I went hard into the season 2 Filet meta, did really well in that, and then I went into Farmers because of the Thresher meta. Around that time, into season 2, beginning of season 3, Alex Bots started destroying stuff
Nice.
with Thresher. But actually, I also killed. I also kind of killed the local meta with. We did like an escalation tournament, and that was when they released some over there. Limited Tater.
Oh,
Tater came out as like a prequel model,
Yes.
or a preview model for the farmers. And so I was running my Masons in this escalation league with preview Tater, who could have played in any league, but I had 3 counter charge bubbles.
Oh my god.
So I'd run
Brick.
Yeah, so I'd run
Oh,
brick on one wing, Tater on the other wing, and marbles up the middle, and then goad people down the middle, and people flip tables. They were
This
like
is the
ready
type
to
of player
quit.
he is.
Yeah, I'm never like competitive enough to be at the top table, but I am like always trying fun shit. So,
And following it.
G-rated?
You can say whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, that's a little bit of my Guild Ball.
Cool.
And then
And
send me some pictures of your painted stuff, and I'll
Oh,
pop
sweet.
it on.
that would be sick.
While
Yeah, I'll
we're
throw my
talking.
farmers up there for you.
Oh yeah, because you got the beautiful bluing on all the farmers.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, the non-metallic.
Dude,
Yeah.
the non-metallic. It looks so good. It looks so pretty. I love
Yeah,
looking at your
I
stuff.
do it very cartoon style because Guild Ball is very
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
cartoony series. So.
Cool. Well, you kind of mentioned it. Like I got in the game pretty much when Farmers were released. Like that was when I like started playing. And I feel like it was like when Farmers were released, it was like the peak design of where SFG was in making guilds. I feel like they kind of got into this rhythm where like teams should have themes, and like the theme of Farmers is planting and reaping. I just love it so much. I think it's like such a cool system. I think they expanded upon that with Blacksmiths, and then season 4 came and like Alchemists got conditions, and everyone got their own kind of thing. And I feel like Farmers was like the catalyst for that because of like this cool, unique system that they have. So they plant and reap. They have planters who are like the support pieces. They have reapers who are like the pieces that score you VP, whether it's scoring goals or getting takeouts. And it's just a really cool system. I really like it. So I mean, what would you say like the pros and cons playing Farmers are for a new player or a veteran player?
Yeah, well, I mean, when Farmers came out, there were a lot of upset, but Brewers and Mason players because they were basically Brewer and Masons 2.0. They have a lot of low momentum, a lot of high low momentum results, and then for a while they even had. Well, I think a few of them still do have some heroic plays. So they were they were a really scrummy team that liked to eat the Brewers' lunch, and then they scored goals better than Brewers. So the pros are, if you like fighting, they're a pretty good fight team. They're really tanky, so they're just freaking hard to kill.
Yeah, they're like a different kind of tanky though. They have really low defense, like no armor, and just tons of health.
Just tons of
tons
health.
of healing.
Like 24 boxes, 20 boxes. It's not unheard of for some models. There are some squishier models, but they typically have higher defense. Sometimes armor, but they're very weak against any of the control teams. So any teams that can throw pinned on them, the Morticians, the Falconers, the Hunters, you're gonna have a bad time. You typically want some different tech going into those teams, but other than that, they just love to fight stuff and they love to beat stuff up. And so if you like rolling a lot of dice, you like getting gang ups, you like making a scrum, they're a team for you. And if you're a player that wants a little bit more than just fighting or just goals, you have that little bit of a puzzle with the planting and the reaping, and so there's a little bit of activation.
Some setup,
some order,
payoff.
That you want. So, but it's really satisfying when you can get that stuff to pull off. And it's just a lot of fun.
So. They're just really fun team. I feel like they're like the most flexible team after Masons. I would say is probably Farmers, right? They can do. You can do anything depending on who your captain is and what qualities you take.
Pretty much regardless of the list, you can flex from, you can flex into a 2-2 team. Pretty easy. So
I think the draft is pretty important for farmers.
Oh yes.
Like you want the right tools for the job. So, any cons you're seeing?
Just those control teams, and I mean they have low
you're gonna get hit.
Stats. You're gonna get hit. If you don't like getting hit, you don't like getting knocked down. You're in that vein. You need to keep the momentum race up because they are going to be making a ton of momentum off of the exception of like you have Lindell in the face or something like that. So it is not an easy team in the sense that you always got to keep up the tempo. You always got to be thinking ahead because they can be taken out, and when they are taken out, they're pretty slow. For some of them, they're typically 6'8". But I mean, Wendell's really slow. I think Arrow is also pretty slow. So it just depends on who you're running.
Yeah. I think they're an easy team to pick up as a new player.
Yeah.
If you wanted to. Yeah. I think it's a cool starting point.
Yeah. I also think it's a good team to play into.
For sure.
They get to actually see what their guild can do. And that's what I did a lot when Guild Ball was resurrected. I played farmers so newer players like, oh, this is what my team can do at full tilt. Or I plan out, like, if I'm able to hit my full playbook, then I can do X, Y, Z, or if I can hit my character. So I played farmers for the majority of the first part of the resurrection. I'm going to call it the revive, right? Like that way, newer players felt like, oh, this is not too bad. Versus I played Brewers and was like, we're gonna beat everybody up. Because I played my top impressive.
But I mean, Thresher can be pretty brutal
Yeah.
on people. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying though, because it's also like you have another level of mechanisms that you have to deal with. It's like when you're doing a demo game, it's easy for you have another resource that you're dealing with, which again, there's more setup and more payoff, but a new player can kind of see it and they can like run over your harvest markers and kind of get a little satisfaction out of 9. So
they're also just like a really consistent team. Like I don't think they're mostly 2 damage on 1 everywhere.
Yes.
The Reapers are momentous. The Planters are non-momentous, but just being able to hit 2 damage reliably is really nice to have. They don't top out very high either, but they do have that consistent damage, which is just nice to have.
Yeah, they have constant influence. So if you're a newer player, you don't really have to think about your influence allocation as much because turn 2, similar to Corporate with Beer Token, you can reap 5 plants.
Yeah, you can just rip them all down.
5
Start over.
Instant influence. So instead of having 11 influence or 12 influence, you have 17. So now you're running all your characters at full tilt, which you can now see all the combos you can do, which what would have taken you 3 games, maybe, you can now see in 1 game.
Right.
Because you now have 3 or 4 of your squad is full tilted. And you can see what combos work.
Yes.
In that activation, that your turn 2 and your turn 4, if you get to turn 4, are going to be your power turns, mainly because your turn 2 and your turn 3, because that's when you can reap all your harvest markers and out influence and then outwin that momentum race against your opponents. Yep, just because you have.
I would say to that vein too, I think the planting reaping is a very elegant system where like new players get a lot of benefit from it because you just take it all and you get the influence.
Yep.
You know, more experienced players will know which ones they need to keep on the board to make things happen because different people will reap different ones. Where to set them up in the right place so your opponent doesn't trample them all and your team or your turn is just blown because you needed something on the pitch. So really cool system.
Yeah.
Let's jump into it. Which captain do you guys want to start with first?
We can start with Festival. I played quite a bit. I think I played like 10 to 12 with Festival from a competitive standpoint, not necessarily in tournaments, but against players and against new players. If we have to rank the captains, I still think Thresher is definitely number 1. I will argue and say that Festival is better than Grange in most situations, mainly because I prefer the mobility. So there's a lot of teams which require you to be where they want you. For example, Hunter's Pinned, or you have like the Brewers, they want you to be in a certain area, Scrum, or XYZ. So she has 2 very, very strong movement tools. Not to mention that her, she's got reach. So we're just gonna go over her stats. She's got reach, she's got standard human stats, which is like move 6'8", attack 5, 3-6 kick, defense 4-0, influence 5-6, which is pretty nice because Thresher is bringing 5, I think. Yeah. So you're getting 2 extra influence just for bringing this captain, right? Which is going to make your squaddy shine. She's got that momentous push on 1, which when you have reach is pretty nice. She's got knockdown on 2. She's got double push on 3, and she's got that momentous 3 damage on 5. Her character plays her in the field, which is that AoE 2-inch dodge for all other friendly models, which is kind of huge if you're against Brewers, if you're against Butchers. If you've overextended yourself and you're seeing a supercharge come up, you can pull your models back. And you can do this every single turn.
Or if you have an ugly scrum that you don't like, you can just get reposition it or
or
pivot in your favor.
Exactly. So let's say the Brewers have set up a scrum where there's one squaddy kind of out to the wing. You can now move all 3 of your squaddies onto that one. Right. And not only that, she gives you double games.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about establishing a scrum, you can now have 3 gang ups, and then if she's in it, you're giving Wendell 5 gang ups like that.
Yep.
And then our tool sharp, which is really good into Brewers. It's good into anything with tough high. Yeah, because it's conditional damage, and it's not once per turn. So you can hand this out like candy to Wendell, to Granny, to a bunch of your or I guess to himself, just whoever needs to be doing that damage. Right. And we already talked about the double gang up hand with reach is humongous, right? Her captain ability, when all the season 4 captains came out, they had a team-wide ability. Hers is you can eat a harvest marker for 4 HP, which is kind of disgusting.
Yeah, when you can heal 12 HP a turn with 3 momentum and a harvest marker, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, and that's not including Lamb, who can also heal you on top of that. Or Hera, who can heal you another 2.
Hera, who's worse Lamb.
Yeah, worse Lamb, worse, slightly more AoE Lamb that also doesn't love Bushel anymore for some reason. More Big Sad.
Big Sad? Do they not love each other anymore?
Well, he loved her. And Graves was always like,
love.
Sister, buddy.
Gotcha.
And so, I mean, you're healing. She also plants 2 every activation, so you're getting 2 extra influence, you're getting 2 extra harvest markers, which nets you 2 influence or 8 HP. And then, of course, her legendary play, which is choose any edge of the pitch. Friendly models within 6 are directly pushed 5 inches towards that edge.
Yeah.
So, again, into scrummy teams.
From a 6-inch pulse from her.
From a 6-inch pulse from her.
So it's not just all models.
No, But how I would play Festival is kind of wonky Brewers, where you're getting all these gang ups, you're setting up for a bunch of stuff, you're setting Bushel up with the goal because you have this essentially 7 inches of out of activation move, right? And that's for as many people as you can shove into a 3-inch AoE. And then because it's a direct push, you can easily get blocked on terrain or other enemy models, which is why you have the air field.
Yeah.
But think of Jack Straw with 7 extra inches of movement. He can only normally move 4
Yes.
inches base without the teleportation weird shenanigans. So you're setting up a Jack Straw goal. You're setting up a bushel goal. You're setting up a window for takeouts turn 1. Like the abilities you can do with 7 inches on a 3-foot board is humongous. You're moving essentially what is like a fifth of the board. Like that.
Yeah.
Right. And
or you can run it like a Blackheart
Exactly.
play where you just off the line for 5 inches and how you control
everything.
The center of the board.
Which used to be my whole deal was Brewers was get Quaff to establish something for you, but she can do that. It's exponentially, right? Essentially, right? Bushel's now threatening the goal on someone who's not catching the ball if you're kicking, right? Or if you're receiving, right? You're just 5 inches up with the ball, which is kind of scary, you know? So I really like playing Festival. Is she as competitive as Thresher? I don't think so. I think Thresher just does it better, you know, because he can kick and kill, which is half of your 2/2 plan in one activation.
Yep.
She's a lot more kind of.
You can't really kill anything.
Yeah.
No, she's dancing around, which is her whole
getting momentum.
deal.
But yeah.
So you're getting influence, momentum, which in the grand scheme of things feels better, but doesn't when you.
Yeah.
So.
We don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but when all those season 4 or season 3 point whatever captains came out, I thought for a long time they were going to do play down captains because I think Festival in Shepherds is pretty bonkers.
Yes.
But anyway, we don't have to spend a crazy amount of time on that. I thought for sure that they had designed some of these captains to play down because the other captain that made that was blanking on it now. I think it might have been Morn or something like that.
Her
in
Raptor
might be cool.
crazy. But anyway.
So I mean, you think she's? I mean, you said she's better than Grange, is what you saying? You said
in
like
my experience.
in your
I
experience.
enjoyed playing her.
So if you were playing competitive farmers, and you have Thresher obviously in your list, and then you have Festival. What positions do you play Festival over Thresher? Like, what are the teams you play into? Maybe Brewers.
Anything scrummy. Brewers or Hunters. Hunters with the pin. Anything with pin as well. So Obelisk has pinned or who?
Obelisk has
Silent.
the Puppet Master.
Yeah,
But they don't have
It's-
pin. It's just
it's
marbles.
activated.
It's just marbles and berries.
So
Goad.
yeah, anyone who can basically force you to move in the same direction, right?
Yeah.
I liked actually playing them to all ball teams as well, which is kind of weird. You'd think like, what does she do? Well, it's like if there's a snapshot target all the way in your backfield, you can line dance or push someone back. Like you can have Wendell just sitting back chewing up these strikers, right? Like so she can reposition you to make that third goal for the go harder to accomplish. I haven't played a lot of Thresher, but I think you want to take Thresher into most situations, but Festival can ease you into things that you might not be for, like especially if they can really stretch that out. Just because 7 inches of movement is humongous, right?
Yeah.
And being able to tie up a snapshot target can be the difference between winning and losing a game.
Do you think she's better into Brewers than Thresher? Or would Thresher just play ball against Brewers and be better?
Well, if you're trying to outscrum them, Festival because you have a rules of sharp and you have the ability to set up the scrum in your favor.
You want to set up a scrum against Brewers.
Right.
That's a great question. Like I think if you're playing against Tapper, maybe. I think Corker can outshine Festival because current 2 Corker is insane.
Yeah.
Cooper with 5 influence, I could be more with 4 influence, right?
Right.
Like so against Corker, no. Against Tapper, maybe because you could reestablish people away from his commanding aura. You can push Tapper away, right? You can you have more options. Not being in ballroom brawl or commanding aura can devastate the Tapper player, right? And she has a double push on as a knock 2. You know, so it's like, and she has a push on 1. So and that reach. So she can easily just be like, right? And even if Tapper counterattacks, she can just push him 1 away, air in the field back into him and push him away, line dance out. Like dismantling a Tapper scrum could lose Tapper.
Yeah.
Right? Because now Cooper's not doing his cool stuff. Like all the other miniatures that are supposed to be shining as well. Like that's the reason you play Tapper, right?
Gotcha.
Thresher, I think if you're forced to play him into Tapper, you just try not to even scrum at all, and you just go for easy takeouts and
reach. That kind of leads into my take. My take is hands down Thresher is better in almost every situation. In my opinion, I think he's just hands down the best captain. In my opinion, if there's worse matchups for Thresher, I feel like Grange covers him better than Festival. But I would play Festival just for a Hunter matchup because I hate that matchup. And she's so good against the Bear. She's good against Theron.
Yep.
She, Windle against the Bear's not getting momentum.
Nope.
The Windle, you could heal up quickly. And then R2s are sharp. When Cena has tough hide, you just can't kill it. And that Bear is such an issue for my Thresher list that I feel like I would play Festival just for a Hunter matchup and play Thresher into everything else. But I do think Grange covers some of the matchups that are worse for Thresher better because he plays ball a little differently.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably just because I have and stuff like us a lot into what people would consider bad matchups for Thresher. So I was like, oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also got sounds
You mentioned Fish. That was the other play down captain. Yukai and Navigator.
Yeah,
that would be
flying navs. Oh my god.
We want to move on to Grange?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, Grange. So I think the farmers boxes when they released, because I remember they had that limited tater model, and I think the Grange box came first. So I played the Grange box a lot, and then when Thresher came out, I remember people were like, Thresher, meh, but Grange is really good. And then bots broke worlds with Thresher, and everybody was just playing Thresher, and then Thresher got gross.
Dude, I remember looking at Thresher and thinking that's just such a broken model.
Before he
as a new player,
right.
I wasn't following metas, looking at what people were doing on a grand scale of what Thresher was doing. I was like, dude, that's busted.
Yeah, 3-inch melee.
Yeah,
in general.
Yeah,
on a
and the reap and everything, his damage was nuts, and
But we're not on Thresher. We're on Grange.
We're on Grange.
He's a little boy. So yeah, he's got reach. He's got a 5'7", 6 attack, which is pretty good. 3-6 kick, which is not bad. Defense 3-0, and then 5 of 6, which is also great.
Also great.
Momentous knockdown on 1, man. He loves that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's a planter model. So he's the captain that's going to be putting out harvest markers for people to eat up. His bubble is gross. I mean, having doesn't he have tough hide so he can turn on?
Yeah, he had tough hide aura, right? Yeah.
Yeah, tough hide aura, and the kick aura is really great, especially if you've got a football team. Which I mean, he in the middle of that is a great guy to pass to.
Oh yeah,
I've never had great. He's stupid.
Yeah, because he's base 4-8 with that for the family rule.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he himself is a pretty good footballer.
For sure.
He just doesn't have dodges.
Doesn't have dodges, but yeah, he just kind of wants to stand in the middle of the pitch with his arms crossed like they are. And fight him. So,
so
he your whole playbook? Or?
No, I kind of want to talk about his aura because that's kind of his big thing, +1, +2 kick. You can have a team of 8-inch kick strikers and 8 to 10 inches, and with Shearer you have another +1 in there too because he's got football legend that stacks with for the family because different rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like this team where you're just playing all 2-inch strikers. You're playing Amber Shearer, you're playing Grange. You can play the Donkey or Peck, whether if you need conditions, whatever team you're playing against. Jackstraw, obviously, and I don't even think you need another planner with Grange. You could play Tater. You can play, Tater's a striker under those 2 auras. And he does damage. You can get 2/2 pretty easily with that team. Everyone has a 2-on-1. So
if the harvest markers are a real problem, then you just do the legendary play early.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have 4 out. Just off his activation. So.
Getting sturdy from it is almost more beneficial than a harvest marker, since you have 2 planners, you're pretty much doing 4 harvest markers a turn. You don't really need the legendary. I think it's better if you're thinking you're gonna eat some knockdowns. It's pretty good. One thing we didn't mention for new players, you have to know to place your plants, because it's the worst feeling in the world when your turn's passed and you're like, oh, I should have.
I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot to put my plant, and that always feels bad to ask your opponent, hey, do you mind if I
put these back?
We all do it. And it's sure, no problem, but it always feels bad. Make sure you put your plants down.
Yes.
That's always really annoying when you forget to do that.
A tip for that I do this too. It's shakes thing.
Yeah.
So like I'll use a different color of harvest marker or a different color of influence to be like, and I will put it like on the board, so I can see like, hey, that's my old Jake's influence, right? Or like
I used to put the harvest markers that I knew, like when I allocated, when I start the game, I just give everybody the influence that they generate. And I would also put the harvest markers that each character generated on their card.
Yeah.
So that as I'm referencing their card, I literally have to move the harvest marker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, harvest marker.
Yeah. I think make your own.
Yeah, your giant.
Yeah, no giant little, because that
yeah.
one it's hard to forget. You're like, oh, I have this literal extra thing here. Instead of like the little templates.
Yeah, the little acrylic tokens, which are nice. Those are what I use.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're not used to playing it, I did used to get like some size O or HO or whatever the scale was, corn stalks.
Those are
in there.
great.
That's really fun. Just get some extra bases.
Yeah, and it's a fun little hobby aspect.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah,
And
anything fun.
yeah, and it also teaches players that you can stand on. Like you can't end
Yeah.
your
That's
movement on top of harvest markers. If you have a flat token, people are like, I'm just gonna put it right here.
Yeah, that's right.
And they don't run or they don't charge
Yeah.
to it. So you're like, oh, actually. You know?
Yeah, totally. That's cool.
So yeah, Grange gives out the tough hide. He makes him a little tankier with tough hide, which I think is almost better than eating markers for 4 HP like Festival does. My issue with Festival and Grange is that they're planting like master your leaders, like what are they called? Captains. Thank you.
Yeah.
I played so many games. I'm like masters, leaders, like
forecasters.
yeah, forecasters, exactly. But like the way you get VP is from Reapers, and like Thresher has 6 VP activations all the time, and like they're just setup pieces. And so if you like setup, you're gonna play like these planters, and then you'll have more Reapers in your list as squaddies. Whereas Thresher typically needs at least 2 planters with him, whereas Festival of Grange only needs 1. So it's just a little list building aspect to it. But he's just like a generic captain. He's gonna knock people down. He's 2 inches. He gives help him out, which is the -1 additional -1 crowd out. It's like the opposite of Festival's extra gang up. And that's what he does. He's just, I guess he plays ball a little bit. He kind of
plays
controls.
ball, and then he does Mule not as well as Mule, where he'll knock a guy down, throw him back into the scrum behind him with those double pushes, and let the rest of the team.
I mean, he's got 26 boxes.
Yeah,
like
you're not really gonna.
you're gonna farm momentum off this guy. Like it's really hard to win momentum races when Grange is up there and he's just 3-0 and he's probably knocked down. Then he's 2-0 and then everyone's just getting all the things they can ever possibly want on him.
Right.
And then he's alive with 10 life still somehow at the end of the turn. So,
Yeah, that's what that momentum race I was talking about. It's hard to farmers.
Yeah, that's my gripe with Grange. It's like you knock him down, it's 2-0, and you want him in the middle. So it's like you're kind of giving your opponent a tool to play with, even though that tool is it's most likely you to become that position. It's allowing your opponent knowing, oh, he's playing Grange, he's gonna make the middle of the board, I can play around.
Yeah. And like not having momentous damage to like 4 results, it's just like you end up just like taking knockdowns and like help him out, and like just because you need some momentum, but like it would be nice to like get that damage started, like farmers do, which is you gotta chip away at people with your 2 damage, and it becomes hard to take those results when they're not momentous.
Yeah, building a team into Festival of Grange, you're almost forced to take.
Yeah,
because
I think you almost always want.
Oh yeah,
but yeah.
I think Grange could play like I said, you can play like all ball and like still get takeouts if you need them, like on the weaker models that have like farmers are great into like the 5 defense models because you're getting 2 damage every time you get a result, low HP pools, and so really trying to get those like quick takeouts.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
The great glass cannons.
Yeah. Let's move to my boy
Thresher,
the man, the myth.
I don't know much, so good.
Less of a myth these days.
I mean,
but
he's a 5/8 move, 7 tack, which is just very consistent. He's got the 3/8 kick. He's a striker.
Yep.
He's got 4 defense, which is better than Grange, and same as Festival. He's got 20 boxes. He's got 3/5, so he's not like a planting captain that have the 4/5.
Right. But to Andrew's point, it's not that hard in this type of an influence team. Come turn 2, you just yank some harvest markers down to make up for that lack of. So.
For sure. And he's just got the consistent momentous 2 on 1. He's got knockdown dodge, which is just like a crazy result.
In a strike.
We're in a striker, and so I think his biggest weakness is getting around close control for sure. Because it's just really hard to do that. He just ends up knocking him down and hoping for a scatter that goes right. Now they have Shearer. I didn't play Farmers when they had the play ups and play downs for Shepherds, but I think that's a useful tool to have now in Shearer. And he's just so consistent. He's got, cost 1 play, Scything March. He can be a 3-inch, so immune to counterattacks, which is crazy in a damage captain. He's got They Ain't Tough. He's got a 3 damage They Ain't Tough on 3, which is crazy. You just start it with a knockdown dodge, and you just get that 3, and then you're doing momentous 3s usually after that with 7 tack, removing an armor. And if they're probably knockdown, and you're spending the rest of your 3 influence to do 3 to 4 damage every single time. If you hit that 3 damage knockdown too on that first result,
it feels so good.
It feels so good. I mean, he's got a Brewer playbook. You might have some crowd outs or gang ups, and like hitting that 3 knockdown is really nuts. He's just a very consistent damage captain that has low dodges with 7 tack and an 8 kick. He's gonna score goals too. He's gonna get the ball. He's gonna score goals. He's gonna murder people. He does everything. And then he has his squad around him to be the support pieces. It's not your captains in Grange and Festival. They're actually supporting your team. So you have squaddies, you have throwaway activations that can just plant and set up. And I mean, he's just great. And a legendary play makes him more efficient. Like he's essentially 6 influence when he uses 7 or his legendary play. It can get him some life. You don't typically use it just to get life. I mean, it's a nice benefit.
You really want to.
You really just want.
Scything March.
Yeah, you just want to not spend 1 for Scything March and become 6 influence on your captain.
Yeah.
Then he's got Don't Fear, which is just an extra 3 damage and gets around
can get a lot of people.
And
I remember when it wasn't once per turn.
Oh,
which,
yeah. Yeah.
I killed 4 Brewers models.
It was
in a
nuts.
single activation.
Yeah.
And now, granted, the player that I was playing had not seen Thresher, so he scrummed up and Thresher went in. Like, oh, cool, there's like 2 harvest markers here. I'm just gonna like this, and it was like, okay, well,
Will it land?
I'm done playing now.
Oh.
So, yeah.
And he's just like this flexible piece. He's a missile. He goes at it, and you send him out. He does his thing. The rest of your team can do whatever they want. They can add to your scrum. They can score.
Yep.
They can be picking up other models, other places. I feel like Festival and Grange are set up pieces that have to have their team around them.
Yeah.
And Pressure is just so much easier to use. Just great for kicking off. He's up the board.
Yeah. And you don't want to play him like you play Festival and Grange. You want to hold Thresher back.
Yes.
Because not only he's not as tanky as those other 2, he only has 20 boxes, which can be eaten through because if people see Thresher on the table, they are going to go for Thresher. But that Crow Scare is really nice. You want to get that up as soon as you can, because then at least he's poised so that he can retaliate against people that are going to.
And his counterattacks are fantastic. He's got a knockdown dodge. Like, that is like such a great counterattack.
7 dice.
Yeah. Great piece.
The things that really hurt Thresher are, as we've already talked about, pinned hurts Thresher a lot because Theron will just pin him and then run exact opposite way where he wants to go. Goad is not great either. Because again, he's a 4-0, so they're looking at average dice on that as opposed to on other farmer models too. But,
and I mean, he
can be shut down.
Yeah, he looks like a damage piece, but like, if you're playing Brewers and they're just all tough hide, like they're really hard to take out because farmers are just doing 2 or 3 damage every time they do damage, and so tough hide is really rough on that. And when he only has 5 influence, you're doing 10 damage to a tough hide model consistently. That's not going to take anything out. And so I would he plays ball, like if you see a ton of tough hide models, like just play some ball. And like, you don't need to try and get those takeouts. I think he plays 2-2 really, really well. I would say more so than 1-4. You don't need to go for those takeouts all the time. Like play ball, dude. Like he's knockdown dodging while having the ball. Like the whole team's knocked down. He's getting closer to the goal and scoring a goal while knocking everyone down, and then getting gang ups for other people to get. When you have pieces such as like Bushel and Buckwheat and Jackstraw, where they can kind of fan out to the wings and get the ball once it's kicked back in and just score more goals.
That weird freaky goal.
Get that weird freaky goal.
The donkey goal.
Yeah, I mean, he's just favorite. I think he's the competitive captain 90% of the time. Every time you play, I don't think he has a bad matchup.
No.
I don't think if you didn't play Festival and Hunters, you're playing wrong. Like he's still good.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
true.
So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
spiel.
And if you can get that gnarly like bottom of turn 1, first activation on turn 2, where it's
Mhm.
like you're essentially using, well, if you're using his legendary play and all the influence on it, you're essentially using 11 influence back to back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's off of knockdowns, probably a goal, and then you can kill whatever is
Yeah.
left over.
Yeah.
And I honestly think he's the only consistent takeout piece in Farmers that can consistently get you takeouts, besides maybe Windle, which is like so easy to shut down. Like he's a
Yeah.
2-0 model, where Thresher's got just a bunch of different tech to like actually be a beatdown model. So when you're taking Festival and Grange, I feel like if you want any takeouts at all, like Wendell has to be in that list.
Yeah.
Whereas Thresher can get that 2 takeout and a goal for you, and then your
Yeah.
squaddies need to score 1 goal
You
the rest of the game. You know, like
something else.
yeah.
You got Jack Straw Bushel.
And even
Shaver,
if, you know, Thresher gets 1 takeout and 1 goal and gets taken out, the rest of your team
He did
does
his part.
2s,
Yeah.
2 on 1s, and like
Yeah.
just chip someone down and get a goal.
he did it in 1 activation. It's like, so
Yeah.
it's like now have the rest of your team to figure things out, and how much they had to invest to take pressure out was probably momentous, right?
For sure.
That's something else that we didn't really talk about with new players, but I think the flexibility that Farmers has to be a 2-2 team. I mean, ultimately you want a 2-2 team as a player anyway, I'd say, because that 3-0 team is really rough, and that 6-0 team nobody likes to play.
Yeah, I think
But,
2-2 and 1-4 are the
But
sweet
yeah,
spots
the
of the game.
2-2 team and Farmers can do that so easily.
Yeah.
Where they could flex up very easily into
Yeah.
a 3-0 team because of all the kicks that they have.
Mhm.
And obviously, with all the damage that they have, as we covered, they could be a 6-0 team, but you just don't want to be that. And Farmers allow you to play
Yeah.
so much in the middle of that,
Yep.
that sphere.
I
so.
feel like Thresher allows you to play like
Thresher.
flex to 1-4 super
Yes.
easily,
Yes.
whereas Festival and Grange can't flex
They
to
can't.
1-4
No.
very easily at all.
they need a second goal. for sure.
So yeah, I mean Thresher. I feel like all of my games can be 3-0 or 1-4 or 2-2. Like,
Yes.
and it's totally reasonable. You know, like you have a
Yeah.
fluid game plan.
All you gotta do is have positioning right and know how to play Thresher and know how to set him.
Don't let Thresher get taken out with Fire Influence, and you're
Yeah.
usually doing
Yeah.
a pretty
Yeah.
good job.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
So
And all you guys talk about, I'm using.
let's.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're leaving for the best guy. All right. Well, yeah, we could. We got
No.
Buckwheat. He's my favorite mascot. I don't think. Well, the condition removal is good for Peck, but we'll get to that. But
Mhm.
like Buckwheat is my favorite mascot of the game, just because the model's really fun.
Yeah.
But having a knockdown, a non-momentous on 1 and a momentous on 2, is
It's
just
not that.
really
It's
fun.
on 1, it's a knockdown 4-inch push.
Yes,
and
a
on
knockdown
2, it's
4-inch
a
push.
knockdown 4-inch push.
Yes,
that
the
is
4-inch push. ass kicking is
Outrageous.
great.
Like he's got crazy movement, and like
I've used Buckwheat so many times, like end of game, to just kick a model back off the pitch,
Right, when
like,
they're
at the
icy-
final.
Icy Sponge models coming on the board.
Yep.
Like I have to tell my opponents
Watch out.
even during competitive matches, like I tell my opponents because it feels so bad. I'm like, dude, just don't
It,
hit 4
it
inches
feels
of the board.
sucky, yeah.
Because
Like, watch out for the
If you're
donkey.
within 12 inches of the donkey and 4 inches of a board edge, like I get 2 VP, you're losing that model. And I've done it so many times. Like,
Yes, and the carrot and stick will get
Yeah.
people too, because you can pick that harvest marker up and give him a jog, so
Mhm.
he's got really 12 inches of threat
Exactly.
on people. And when that donkey's charging, you do not want to be near that donkey.
And again, he's
So-
got 4 tactics. Somehow you with that, the fact that he is stoic is really important because the counterattack's not pushing you away. So he still gets another shot to try and get that 4-inch push. You know, because if he misses,
Yeah.
he could still get a 4-inch push off a normal attack.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah. The donkey's so much fun.
And I'll agree with you too. I see a lot online of everyone only using Peck. And I think Buckwheat is so good
I don't think
as a mascot.
Yeah.
Like Peck is really, really good
into
certain matchups.
Into
Yeah.
if you
butchers.
aren't willing to bring Millstone, then. But
Yeah,
I
But
mean,
you don't always need cock. Like you don't always need it.
yeah,
Like you said, if you have Millstone, like that kind of
Millstone.
covers it. You cover the knockdown that Thresher's gonna take, and you don't need to put up Cocksure on him, and he can still have his poise counterattack or what have you. It's really just getting over that one knockdown, and there's not a lot of knockdowns. If you're playing Fish or something, or like it's all about the draft, like we said. Like
Yeah.
if someone's playing Yukai or Shark, you know, you don't need Millstone or Peck.
yes.
But it's pretty much only Alex where I'm like, dude, I need Peck, or
yeah,
you know, who's throwing out maybe Falconers, who's throwing out like or butchers if if you know they're gonna play fillet. Like, but it's really hard in a draft to know that someone will play fillet. But yeah, Buckwheat just gets you. He's a striker.
Yep.
Under range, he could be 4'11".
Yeah,
like
the 4'11".
yeah.
He's a really good turret too. That's
Yeah.
the thing, is that you don't want to get near that donkey, and he really wants to be right in the middle.
Yeah. And he can get that first goal easily
yeah,
for you,
yeah.
and then you're like, enjoy my 1v donkey. You know,
Yes. yeah,
he's a great piece. He's got momentous everywhere. Like,
yeah.
he's gonna
a
get you
ton of
momentum,
fun, dude.
and
so much fun. I
He's
mean,
fun.
even momentous 3-on-4 is not bad on charges or gang ups. You just move the donkey in there and get really lucky. Got him on already knocked down. You can just hit him for 3 and then push him 4 inches away or take him out. Is so cool.
Yeah.
So much fun. I have so much fun with that mascot.
Yeah.
Peck, Mr. BDSM Rooster himself.
Yeah.
That's right. His whole harem around
Yes,
him.
really.
He's got that big old
I
like,
love it.
choker
Hey.
collar. Dude, when I painted that, I was like, this rooster's full on like a leather daddy.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
But yeah, he's 6'8" movement, got 2 tack, 2 core kick. Now I'm just saying it.
I mean, you just
Like,
take him for his heroic play. Is what people take him for. You take him for
people want
cocksure.
the cock crows, yeah.
Yeah, you take him for cocksure and his heroic play,
Yeah.
which removes all conditions.
Yeah, he doesn't even really put out a harvest marker unless you kill him.
He's not
which
even
is
really a planter.
not great.
Like, that's not even a win for Buckwheat. Like,
Nah.
Buckwheat still provides, 1/3 influence. The bird only provides 1. Like, he's more defense, I guess, but he's got less life. He drops a marker when he dies, but
I mean,
he's
he's
killing
got
a
the-
chicken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He has the pain response.
Yeah.
Whoever's really aiming for him, they have to gun to where he can't play.
Right.
So it's like, for 1VP, you're really gonna do all that.
But I will say, like, I think the most one-sided matchup in the game is Farmers versus Elves, because, like, you just bring this bird and then you win the game. Like,
Yes, it's the bird can take those off. You also might want to bring him into teams that like Brewers that have a heavy knockdown game, where you can stand people up easier.
I guess
But
if you're
again,
scrumming, like,
I
'cause-
bring Millstone.
but I would just bring Buckwheat because he's gonna ball more.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna
Yeah.
actually add to your VP in your game. You don't want
Right.
to really scrum versus Brewers. You know?
Right, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
normally just bring Millstone instead of that.
Yeah, if you can get that kicking off the temper,
Mhm.
that's your 4-inch commanding
Oh,
order.
yeah. Just get it away.
Yeah, and it's like, here's my 1VP. It's essentially WAF,
Yeah.
but more missile.
Just breaking that scrum up. I mean,
Exactly.
he's Buckwheat is good. You
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
need to play more Buckwheat.
Play Buckwheat. Do we want to go into characters alphabetically, players alphabetically, or what do we want to do? In our order of hot take, who do you always bring?
What would you prefer, Regan?
Let's go Planters and Reapers.
Oh, Planters
okay.
and Reapers. That's
Alright,
fun.
so
Okay,
let's
we'll
do
start with
first Planter is
Harrow.
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 Yeah, Harrow.
Harrow is not as strong of a pick for me anymore. I mean, I used to always bring Harrow, but now that Lamb is in the mix, I would bring Lamb instead of Harrow. But yeah, so Harrow 5'8" movement. He's got reach. A lot of that's the other thing with farmers, that when they came out, people were like, "Oh, these are brewers with reach. Like they
Yeah.
just have 2-inch melee everywhere."
Yeah.
So 5'8" movement, tack 5, 3-6 kick. I mean, all the farmers they like to play football. When they're not farming, they're playing football. So.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I mean, the playbook is okay. I mean,
I
typically
think
you're
Mark
bringing
Target on 2 is pretty good, I guess, but
mark target on 3.
or 2.
Oh, he has momentum.
Oh, yeah, momentous on 2. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, otherwise you're using Sow the Seeds to just get more harvest markers out.
Yeah.
He's typically a support piece and a battery for me. I would just bring him and then just leave him in a
Mhm.
corner somewhere and maybe bring him out if I needed to kill somebody. But it's not worth it really to get him in there because he's not the best at scrumming up. He's only got 17 boxes and he's a 4-0. So he, you knock him down, they're gonna get him. So
Only 17 boxes.
17 boxes, but in a team that like the
Mhm.
average is 20, it's not.
But I mean, he's recovering too, at an aura every time. Like, my issue with Harrow is I think he's got a pretty good card. The issue is he's only planting 1 every turn. And when you're
Yes,
playing
that is my
Thresher
big issue.
and you only want to bring 2 planters, you have to bring planters that plant 2. That's just it. And so I don't want to be like what Matt Rich think I say is like doom and gloom. This guy sucks. Don't ever bring him. But like you can only bring planters in my opinion. And so like Harrow just doesn't make it. I think if you're playing Grange Infestival, I think Infestival, if you're
Yes,
playing just like
I have
this
done that.
this healing, like over
Bubble.
like super healing, and like that's what you want to do, I think is a fun piece. And like Wendell can snack and eat all the harvest markers that Festival
He
puts
wants,
out,
yeah.
and you
Jack
have your
Drop
healing
and
aura, and your opponent's just getting frustrated because they're trying to kill you. It only works into bad opponents, but it could be fun. Just you need 2 markers on your planters. Like, that's it.
Yeah, and sow the seeds is how you would get those other ones.
But it's like,
but it's influence.
My
It's
planters,
influence.
my planters don't get influence. You know, they just run up, they plant. Your turn ends. It's quick on your clock. It's quick on your brain. It's like, it just helps your game. You know, it's like you don't have to think about these models. You just have to think about where they're putting the markers, and that's where your brain should be.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he has to put it within 2, because I think all the markers can go out 4 for the ones that plant 2. I'm pretty sure, right? Like when you plant 1 can go out to 4.
Yeah, land.
Yeah, exactly.
Planting mance.
And so like they go further, and like it's really hard to justify a planter that one.
I think the age just got to because at the time,
True,
there was only range box. Like
you wanted him for sure.
Yeah, because he was one of the only other planters besides Grange, right? So like at the time, you're like, okay, well he can't plant his Grange plants too, right? And Grange is supposed to be the big boy.
Yeah, the power creep left him behind.
Yeah,
came along and ate his lunch.
The issue is unfortunate. Bushel doesn't love him anymore. Like Grange hates him, and Time hates him. So he got hit hard, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
got left in the dust bowl.
So speaking of people who should be left in the dust
bowl, we didn't even mention her when we're talking about why you couldn't bring the chicken. We were just like, bring Millstone. We didn't even mention the honor actually has Cocksure.
Well, totally as a former Masons player, you know, it's just like, how the mighty have fallen when I see this card. But the honor. I mean, she did get, you know, beat to shit in the lore, so I guess it's not her fault. But I mean, I just don't bring this model. I feel like she doesn't do what I feel like wanting to do very well, and she's like, her legendary play is like not great. It's like I'm using up a slot on my team for a model that's kind of mediocre, doesn't have reach, in a team that is known for reach, and is a giant base that like can't get around doing what she's wanting to do. So I just, -1 tack while attacking this model. It's like, okay, cool. I just want to attack her then, you know? Her playbook's not great. I don't really have many nice things to say about that honor.
I think if she had like close control or like maybe
park
something
the ball on her.
Like she can she has a purpose. Like I think your legendary play is amazing, but it just doesn't work when you're burning Thresher. You can't use it on him. Like Thresher's your whole game plan. It's really good on Bushel, I guess. Like
if you really had to, if you're in that spot,
or like if you're getting window up the board early, like it's like a pseudo festival kind of get up pitch a little bit. Yeah. But she's only planting 1 marker. Like
to Kevin's point,
she's immediately off the table because she's only planting 1. Yeah. And she does less than Harrow does. Cocksure is really good. It's a really good play. But like we have other models that can get around that.
Yeah, we have to bring a mascot. So if we need to bring Cocksure, I'll just bring the big. Her Fields of Wheat has saved me a few times when I've been like, I wish, or could have saved me maybe, because I don't even ever really recall bringing her, but like could have saved me if I'd been like, if I'd only put that harvest marker somewhere else. Yeah. But by the time you're realizing that, it's too late to realize that anyway. So I don't think it really helps. It might be friendly to new players who are trying to take backsies on their field on their harvest marker placement. They could use Fields of Wheat to do that, but I would just say
if you really need to get out 4 inches for some reason, like 2 inches doesn't work, and you just need that extra. He can plant her own and then plant 4. She's a sad model, and like the planters are all sad when they don't get used. Like,
Speaking of an awesome planter, Monsieur Jack Straw. He's my boy.
My favorite model in this game is probably Jack Straw. He's just so much fun to use, and he's a planter that actually adds to your game plan and gets VP. He's a planter that pretty much always needs 3 influence on him.
He's also the only planter really that can project harvest markers forward.
For sure.
Past them and not at the end of his turn.
Yeah.
Which he needs because that's how he can.
It's just incredibly tanky.
Yeah.
With 5 defense and reanimate
is really good.
And the fact that he can just get out of being jailed, you just teleport out, and he's got reach. He adds to gang ups. The one thing he doesn't have is tack. Like that really sucks. He's not
gang up.
Getting the ball from models with a ball. And that
he can get a ball from a model that you couldn't get a ball from before though. because if you can pop close control, or for some reason there's some weird thing where they counterattacked and got the ball back and you just misallocated or something like that. I've had Jack Straw save me a few times where he'll just hop in and be like, oh, hey, remember me? I'm the Scarecrow. Whoop.
Yeah.
Score a goal.
I mean, he like if a model with armor has the ball, it's incredibly risky to try and get that tackle. And like it just doesn't work for me. Like against a 5-0 model, maybe you can get a 5 on 3 dice, like get that tackle. I think what's also important that people don't realize is when he places, you can't snap a ball to him. He has to make his jog to snap a ball, and that's super important because you have to make your move while you snap the ball. You can't like teleport, snap, teleport, and move too. Yeah. Yes. So important interaction, important distinction. You have to move to snap the ball.
That's good call.
But yeah, he's just great. It costs 1 to put out 2 markers up the board, like you said, and he interacts with them in a way that makes his movement get up the board. So it's worth that 1 investment to get 2 markers rather than a planter who does it for free, in my opinion.
Yes. And it does 2 damage.
Yeah.
So, it's like Dirty Nice where it's nice to have. You're just like, oh, hey, boom, I'll hit that model. All right, cool. That's nice that those worked.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't always work, but
he's like your striker that has where they go, but not really. He's like the non-linear vector striker. He can teleport 4, then teleport 4 again for 1, then he can jog 2. Well, that's 10 inches, and then he has an 8-inch kick. It's going 18 inches roughly for goal, and it's pretty easy to do. You just get this guy the ball, and he has a goal almost no matter where he is on the pitch, which is fantastic.
To that point, the other limitation they typically has is that 3 influence cap, because you typically do need to put crop dusting out to move him around, so he does essentially have a 2
like I said, you need to put 3 on him every single time, so he has the ability to crop dust, teleport, and shoot.
The beautiful thing is when you can get the flip of the turn where he's crop dusted the end of that activation before, and then he can do other things in between. But that's rare.
That's an important distinction too, because he's one of those models where you do want to not reap these markers for influence at the start of your turn if he has a good target to get to. So you kind of have to think about your turn and where you're going to go with your models before you start pulling and just say, hey, I need 5 influence. Let's just, because having markers is sometimes more important than having.
Yes,
for sure.
And like
for him.
Yes, if he's your bottom of, let's say, turn 2 or even turn 1, right? And you got a goal and you see them place the goal kick right next to a harvest marker, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, like,
here I go.
We're going to leave that harvest marker up,
right?
Yeah. So, like, if he's your bottom of your top of turn, might win. Like this, right? That's how
I've had it.
Yep. And he's just so mobile, or like, I mean, he's not really a great snapshot turn with 2-8. No, right? Like, you want at least that extra dice, right? You want the 3-8, that way you can notice on 4-8. But the fact that if he just made you the goal and then off of the goal kick, there is a free ball anywhere near a harvest marker, you got it. And you pretty much won the game. Right? Yeah. And this is 1 model for 3 influence.
And it's a planter. Like, that's so important too, because you're using slots to have planters to make plans and
decisions.
And so he's adding to your game plan, and it's so important. And he's tanky in a way that people don't think. They're like, oh, he's 10 boxes. He's 5-0. Like, that's hard to get around, but he reanimates, gets rid of all of his conditions. He gets it every turn. Like, if you kill him at the bottom of a turn, he's just going to reanimate again. Yeah. Then when he activates, he's immediately going to just teleport out of a scrum. Like, it's just a great piece to have. He gets back in the game really quickly, even though he only has a 2-inch jog.
For 1 momentum, he's back to 7 HP off of the anime. So you're like, how am I going to get that?
For new players, I think that this is one, outside of Thresher, this is probably the most important model to learn. When I was learning farmers, I would just practice Jackstraw activations. I literally would practice okay, I'm gonna crop dust. Where do I want those? Okay, now I'm gonna teleport. Now I'm gonna walk. Now I'm gonna do this thing, just so that you can kind of get in your head where you want these things to go. Because what Kevin said is true. I think that really only Thresher and Jackstraw are the models that care about. Well, maybe Windle, but where are the harvest markers and are they in the right spot? And so, and the other part for this on the flip side for new players is that this model is typically distracting as hell to new players. They see this, first off, he's a freaking cool model. He's one of the coolest models in the game. Yeah. And he does cool things that literally almost yeah, outside of minors, nobody else has placements, and nobody else does the stuff that he does. It's very easy for experienced farmers players to like throw him in your face, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna hit that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And to Kevin's point, the reanimate will catch you, and you've wasted a ton of influence on this model that really doesn't care because he's just like, oh, look at me, and then like other models are scoring. So don't be distracted by Jackstraw, and definitely get your reps in with Jackstraw.
I guess another con for him is he has no counterattack. Like he's attack 3, with dodge on 2. It's really hard to get, so like don't counterattack with him. But important distinction too, when you crop dust, the marker has to be within, not completely within, of his crop dusting AoE. So you place your AoE, you put a marker on the south side, a marker on the north side, and they're pretty spread. So he can go to one, then teleport to the other, and like he goes really far, and he sets himself up. It's so good. Like he doesn't need any setup to do his goal run. And he plants markers, and he adds VP, and he's great.
Yeah.
Play Jackstraw.
Yes.
Millie.
Millstones. I love this model.
So I'm going to say right now, Millstone's the only planter I consider that plants 1. And that is because she has take 1 for the team, and it's such a good trait.
It's really good.
It's so important. I don't use her as a goalie. Getting the goal doesn't exist in my brain. Like
it's not worth it.
She's getting up. She's battering ram. She's take 1 for the team. You maybe put 1 under to sprint to use battering ram more effectively. And plant a marker and make sure she's within 4 of Thresher, and that's what she does.
Yeah, Millstone was like the first model in the game that really kind of created that deploy behind the line and run across the line to knock everybody forward too. Now there's a few models that do that. Ram does it in the Shepherds as well, but like Millstone was the first one. Or you do the Mickey Mouse deployment where like Millstone's right here and the other models are here, and Millstone just goes boop, boop, like shoots people forward. And she moves right up in the middle. So Millstone's a lot of fun. Like we've already said, you bring her to counter condition in the game because she can take them for the team. And it's per condition. I think you might have already said that. So it's not just a knockdown.
Yeah, it's any condition.
They can stack. So she typically does get I typically don't allocate anything to her, and she does just get eaten alive by poison and burning and all the things that I'm putting on top of her. But that's okay. That's kind of why you're bringing her in a team that doesn't
just get it off pressure.
If she planted 2, she would beat Plowman and Lamb every single time. Like I'm just running her and Jackstraw. Like that would be my team. The issue is I start to run out of influence when I'm only playing Millstone and Jackstraw, and I'm running all Reapers because I'm only planning 3 a turn. And if someone need to use that,
Thresher's gonna eat it every turn. So
Thresher's gonna eat 1, and then you have 2 out, and they get run over. You're just not running at full capacity. But in my brain, Thresher needs to be fully clipped. Jackstraw needs to be fully clipped. That's 8 influence you're allocating every turn. And the rest is kind of flex, if you need some on I think you have 11 if you're running Thresher and only 2 planters. And so, you just put some on Jackstraw and Thresher, like load them out. You have 3 influence to play with. That 3 can get Bushel goal. That 3 one can go on Wendell and he can eat a harvest marker and he can have, more influence. That 3 it stretches pretty far on your team. You can put it 1 on the donkey and let him, do his thing. Or 2 if he needs to charge something. It's just, you don't need that much influence on this team, and you don't need to pull your markers every time. If you're running Thresher with 3 markers, that's probably fine. And I do it a lot, and it still works. Like, you're going to get your takeouts, you're going to get your goals.
You're just really thin. That's all.
You're really thin, and you really have to have a game plan and know what you're doing. I feel like if you really don't need the condition taking from Millstone, you should probably run Lamb or Plow.
Another thing, we haven't really touched on this in any of the other models, but like you typically in the momentum race, you don't want to be hitting with any of them because they have non-momentous damage. Millstone's playbook, those of you who are online can see it is abysmal. Now you don't want, if you have her hitting things, you're hitting the wrong stuff. Or
but again, they have 2-on-1 every single time.
2-on-1.
If you need to start chipping and you really like all your models are dead, you can only allocate to her, and she's the only get those 2 damage in.
I'd argue you're already losing the game.
Right.
But
maybe you're at 10 VP though, and
that's
you're
true.
You just need that last takeout. Those are the points you start loading up your planters, and you just
non-momentous 6 damage. 9 damage. That's true on 2. She's got 4 attack though, so
it's rough.
Plowman. Plowman's good. This is another model that I never really brought a lot, just because I think the rough terrain. The way that Kevin talked about what was the getting the goal. I think of Broken Earth. I'm like, it just doesn't. It might as well not exist. Like models can glide in this game. They're going to glide. The only way that would be helpful is if someone was making a goal run.
And I feel like the way our meta plays, like if you put up Broken Earth, like a lot of metas would be like, oh, your movement stops because you moved into rough. We would be like, oh, just spend a momentum and you glide, and you glided before your movement. And so we don't play it like gotchas, you know, like the way we play.
Sure.
Like I'm sure in some metas maybe you throw a Broken Earth and you have your marker on there. Someone charges into them at full length. And you're like, oh, you have to stop. You have to stop, like right here. Haha. Like our meta is like, dude, just spend the momentum. You made the charge, or like we have to tell people before.
Our meta is also experienced enough that nobody's gonna.
Sure.
So
but against new players, that's totally something we would do.
True.
And I feel like that's the way Coconut could be used if you were like really gamey and like wanted to
Yeah.
And I feel like Mercury does that a lot to me because like you can't really say you could take it back. It's just like, oh shit, I forgot. Like I lost 2. But like Broken is just like, oh, just spend momentum and.
Yeah. I just feel like it's trying to be something control-y, and it's like that doesn't really control. And, like just it's whatever.
I used to bring Plowman almost every game before land, and I ignored his entire card, and I looked at his movement and his planting. And I just moved him up. I planted 2, and my turn. Like that's all he does. That's all he needs to do. It's perfect. Now we have Lamb. Lamb does other things too. He's a 2-inch melee. He gangs up people, you know?
The other thing to note with Plowman too is that it actually doubles anybody's harvest markers that get placed within 4. So if you are running him in the middle, then there is a chance that you get 3 extra harvest markers.
Sure. Yeah, like a crop dust will get 3 or something like that.
Right. Yeah, but
it's pretty niche. Usually you just use it on his own and he puts it in the drill.
And then True Path is like, here, you can work around the Broken Earth that you just put out.
Maybe you just have like an abysmal board with like rough ground everywhere. I feel like we don't set up our boards that way anyway, but like...
Yeah, you could have that happen.
Maybe you need True Path. I don't know. No one ever really thinks about it.
Yeah, I feel like Plowman was more popular too for the momentous knockdown, which through power creep like isn't as big of a deal anymore for farmers players, but it was at the time that he came out a bit of an anomaly.
I would say his playbook is a little more impressive when you do need to put something on a planter. Like he's got pushes and knockdowns. He controls a little bit. Harrow, like Harrow's not. He's not pushing around he's not doing anything. Harrow's playbook is trash. Millstone's playbook is pretty trash because she's only got 4 tag.
She's only got 1 momentous
and
result.
She's got like 1 push. Plowman like can consistently get to knockdown and sometimes get to double push. He's got great counterattacks, which protects your support models. Like you're just not wanting him to die. His counterattack is pretty good.
But he's a 3/1, so it's not like he can hang on to the ball or anything.
He's just planting.
Yeah, he's just planting stuff.
He's your solid planter. He has good counterattacks. If you need to put influence on him, he's doing things. But now we have Lamb.
We're jumping down to Lamb because we're going through the planters first. Lamb is great. I love Lamb. I bring Lamb all the time. Nobody's gonna pop Workhorse in the farmers list. You can pop it yourself in the shepherd's list, which is what I've done many times.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, if they, I mean, that's one use of Lamb is that it's kind of almost like I feel like somebody, maybe it was Nathan, or maybe it goes all the way to like Strictly the Worst podcast where they were like, well, some of the strongest character plays in the game are the ones that just always are looming. That like people can't control when they go off. And so like this isn't quite the same thing. It is in Shepherds where it's like I can just put out 5 harvest markers whenever I want. Now you Shepherds models. But like in this one, you can throw Lamb in someone's face and dare them to kill him.
And you're like, that's kind of a deterrent.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a deterrent. He's not super annoying though because you can get it. He does have reach. But he's only a 3/0, so you can get around it.
When he places the 5 markers, can you remove all the ones on the board and then place 5, or do you place?
As I remember the rule, it's whenever you have to place a farmer marker and already have them out, you can pick
remove
one up.
So you can kind of just remove all your markers and place them.
Yeah, you can wipe the board and put them back.
Okay,
which is kind of nice. But anyway,
I mean, I look at Lamb,
and
I think 90% of the time I'm using Lamb the same way I use Plowman is no influence. just go out and plant 2. And so, like, yeah, he's got all these cool stuff that actually happen. But the way you actually use them is you walk up and you plant 2.
Yeah.
Now, can you put 1 on him and get like a weak point or so to see?
No, the
like,
warming oven, dude.
and the warming oven too. It's nice.
Warming oven is really good. I've used it one time where like it was one of those like I'm on the back foot and I'm clearly gonna lose some models. I actually allocate the 3 to Lamb. I get Lamb in there and I hit a low defense model for 3 times and I heal 4 people. And then I also get the momentum to heal myself, you know? So it is like Lamb can help with that type of support. You obviously need to be able to pull that off. Whereas I think Harrow just need to be close to him, right?
Yeah, it's a 2
it's like a 2
HP.
but it's only 2 HP. Whereas like Lamb is a 4-inch range, but it's 4 HP, which is nice. And it is once per turn. So yeah, I was wrong about that. Yeah,
but
so you could still get a warming oven and then also heal that person for 2.
Yeah, so
more.
8 HP. And
Yeah.
if you're getting momentum from warming up, and you're pretty much half there.
Yeah,
So it's like, I mean, 8 HP in farmers can be huge.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so.
true. So
Yeah.
and then sow the seeds is also nice to get off on 1 if you do need more harvest markers out than the 2 that you get for free. And then weak point's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think farmers really need weak point. There's always chip and damage on people. But
I still would say like Plowman has an extra armor and his counterattacks are better. Like if you're just looking to keep your planner alive and not give up VP, like I know he's not giving 4 HP every time, but like that's also resources you're not allocating to him and they're doing other things. So
yeah.
I think Plowman's fine. Like some people say Lamb is just better Plowman, but they do different things for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like Plowman stays alive better.
Yes.
And now
we're on to Amber.
We'll go to Reapers, and important distinction to make when we're talking about if this model's good, if this model's bad. When I'm playing Thresher, I have room for 1 to 2 Reapers in my list, 1 to 2 Reaper squaddies in my list. And so from that context, you can kind of say, oh, this model's trash just because I'm playing 1 consistent.
You're playing the best Reaper.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
So when I say this, like if you're playing Grange or Festival, all these models have way more value because you're playing 3 to 4 Reapers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So keep that in mind when we're talking about Reapers.
Yeah.
Amber's trash. No.
Amber, I've honestly never played Amber just because I got the model and then the game kind of died out and then I just never painted her and she's literally on my painting bench. I'm painting Festival and Amber right now just so that I can have my full farmers list painted. But yeah, Amber's really cool. I like her a lot. I was looking at her card today. You know, Swerve Shot's really powerful. If you set her up as a turret. And again, under that Grange aura, you know, she becomes a 3/8 kick, which gets her back up to kind of, you know, great kick stats. Her playbook has a momentous result on every column, which is great.
Yeah.
She also has that she can trigger the Swerve Shot off of a tackle, which is really cool. That left boot ability is really good too. So, I mean, you don't really need that if you're running Grange with her, but if really wanted it, you know, she could then become a 4/10.
Yeah.
Even
that
more,
ignores models that are intervening.
She's 5'11".
I mean, that's a game-winning goal. Out of a scrum. So
I
like her a lot.
When I first saw Amber, I was really surprised that she wasn't the playdown for Shepherds because she has this like pseudo ability that's kind of like a Shredder. Shepherd's ability, where like one of her stuff gets taken out and she gets extra stuff. So like I thought, oh, that's probably the playdown for the Shepherds, and I was kind of surprised that it was Bushel and
it's
that honor. Forgot
right.
about her again.
Yeah,
you know, she doesn't
her.
exist.
Yeah.
Amber is like she doesn't score as well as other Reapers. Like she doesn't play ball as well as other Reapers, and she doesn't kill as well as other Reapers. And so she's kind of just this like middle ground where like this is like a game of extremes. You need models for certain situations, and so she's better in like Grange and Festival where they're like flexing a lot. And their game plan is a little more fluid.
I was playing around with the list, a 3-0 list, and if you either bring, I think you bring Grange in that 3-0 list over Festival, but if you did want to make Festival for the movement, but bringing Amber, Bushel, and Shearer, and just having a shit ton of harvest markers
and
Jackstraw, dude, that's pretty fun.
It's a fun list.
I
really
think that
fun.
would be a lot of fun to just play a 3-0 farmers list and try to get Amber out. Basically, get Amber in the turret spot, right? Because that's where she wants to be, and get the other guys on the wings and feed her the ball. but you gotta get that left or tapper in front.
For sure.
So,
Yeah. And again, like with Thresher, it's just really hard to justify it because you have Bushel, you have Jackstraw, you have
and the
Windle, you have even countercharge guy Tater, does probably more damage than she does, like as a better takeout piece. Maybe Shearer is even better as a flex piece than she is. So it's like really hard to justify because I feel like even Shearer probably like gets around close control that farmers really struggle with. Is like having that piece is more important than having Amber on your team, and he can flex to do takeouts.
And her influence is rough.
Yeah,
only bringing one influence.
I mean, all Reapers are only going to bring one. Or Windle.
Right.
Windle will bring 0. I'm pretty sure.
About that.
Yeah, but again, that's the reason why if your Reapers, they're only bringing one influence and no harvest markers. They really need to be contributing with all the influence that you're giving them, and so it kind of you really need them to do specific things. And like Bushel is one of those things that is very specific.
Yeah,
and I love Bushel. I see a lot of hate.
Great.
I see a lot of hate online.
I used
for
to
Bushel.
love Bushel. I think that Shearer is better than Bushel. If you're only bringing one of them, I would bring Shearer over Bushel every time. But Bushel's still, I mean, Bushel is basically the farmer's version of Brisket, where she's got I'm Open and Ball's Gone. She's got both great things about Brisket on one card. She obviously has to get the Ball's Gone off.
All I need is a charge. Like 4 attack is rough.
4 attack is rough.
And then people.
But she can also do that cabbage punt where she can do I'm Open for free.
Yeah,
which gives her a really good ability. Yeah.
But, I mean, you get 2 crowd outs on somebody strong. They're knocked down. Like I played Festival with Bushel, and you're getting double crowd. Now she's tax 6 on a 4 playbook.
Yeah,
most likely knocked down, so they're 3-0. So if you're wrapping that 2-2 momentum, I mean,
and she has close control where Shearer does not. So if you're playing against, I mean, she's only got a 1-inch melee, so against Fish, she might as well not have close control because Fish doesn't care. But I have brought her into teams where the football part matters, and that close control is nice to park the ball on her as opposed to Jackstraw. Although, they're both 5-up, so I park it on her for sure.
Oh yeah,
I think Bushel is my favorite Reaper to pair with Thresher. Like she adds so much to my game plan, where it's just like you have to deal with Thresher, and Bushel's out here playing the wing and like either getting Jackstraw the ball for him to make his goal run, or she's just doing it with Cabbage Plant, like eating 1 harvest marker to get 2 influence essentially with I'm Open is really strong. She doesn't need as much influence on her to make her goal run. When she has Cabbage Plant, she needs a sprint and a shot. You could give her 1 extra if she needs to make a pass and then a pass back and then a go. So like at most 3 to make that goal run. It's pretty efficient. And then like Andrew kind of said, like if you have gang ups on a target, she's getting momentous 2s, and that's pretty important. She's got tackle dodge, which is a great result. And again, having close control on your team is so important. Huge. Like I think it's such a strong ability just to have a 5-0 model in cover in your backfield for a team that really needs that ball. It's like, it's great. Like it protects you against Alks because it's really hard to hit great balls of fire on a 5-0 model, and like it just makes things riskier for ball teams to try and actually go for it. So having close control is like so good. I love it.
I like Bushel a lot.
Protects it. Again, Thresher's getting your takeouts. She's getting a goal. If she gets a goal a game, like she's made her worth. And if Jackshot gets a goal a game, that puts so much less pressure on Thresher to get value out of him. Like he just needs 2 takeouts or 1 goal on Thresher. Like how easy is that? You just have these models on the wings that go get the ball after you've scored with 1, and it comes back, and then you go get that ball again.
It's easy on the Jackstraw's 3 and Bushel might as well. So only 6 out of the total influence. Thresher wants the rest of it for himself, and you're gonna have your other planters 0 influence. So they're really good pieces into Thresher.
Fallow is another model I haven't played a ton of, so
I actually have played quite a bit.
I'm gonna do my drill with Fallow really quick before you do yours. I don't run Fallow because she eats harvest markers. She takes way too much resources to play with Thresher. I think she plays really well with the other ones, but I only play Thresher, so I'll let Andrew take away because she does have really cool tech. She's really good, but she's
also a fun model.
I just can't run her.
Yaga model.
Of course, dude. So I ran a really wonky sport. It was with Festival or Grange. So not a lot of people know what she can do because no one plays it, right? So the cool thing is she has the ability to get 4 influence for basically 2 harvest markers. You're doubling your influence allocation, which normally at the top of the turn you get 1 per marker. So she's getting 4 influence, nothing, right? Which is huge. And then she has out of activation movement with between a rock and a hard place, and she has protective instinct, which means if she does engage someone, they can only attack her.
Yep.
So if someone's beating up your boy Wendell, Granny comes along and is like, not anymore.
You can't hit him.
You cannot hit him, right? And so like it ruins a lot of people's plans, especially if you're in a scrum, right? So let's say the idea is I want to take out X model, right? I'm gonna hit him twice, and then all of a sudden Granny comes in. And you're like, wait, I have to kill this other 19 HP mini? So it's like in certain
But now I
cases,
get momentum.
But now you
Which
get momentum.
is, yeah, Wendell's whole thing. So
Right? And so like, and she has with age comes wisdom, which is she gets +1 attack for every other friendly mob. So she can get to attack what like 7 or 8 on a whatchamacallit, 6 playbook.
Yeah.
Right? And if you have the double crowd outs or festival, you're 10 attack on a 6 playbook.
yeah, that's pretty fun.
And she has rowdy, so again in a scrum she really is thriving. And a lot of the times you could fake out your opponent. They're not going to expect Granny to activate except if she's the last activation, right? So if you're activating her 3rd, she's still
6 tack.
6 tack on a 6 playbook with 2 crowd outs from festival or whoever else is in the scrum. So now you're knocking down, you're getting reliable 3 damage, 3 momentous. You've got the 2 damage stuck in on 2, and she's got double push on 3.
My issue with her is she only has value on turn 2, because like if your models start getting taken out before they activate, she's not getting +1 tack. If someone runs over your harvest markers and you have no planners left before she activates and you didn't allocate any, like you've essentially taken out that model.
Who's taking out a farmer's model turn 1?
No,
Or top of turn 2, I guess.
Who's taking out one?
Yeah, how would that even be possible? I mean, unless you were doing.
I'm just like I said, she only has value on turn 2, not top of turn 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Because after turn 2, things are dying before they activate.
I see. Yeah. At top of turn 2, her attack is 3, so it's like she can't.
And at top of turn 2, her harvest markers are very protected before she activates. And so because like you said, all your planners go because they're your dead activations, and then I ran over them, and then you didn't allocate anything. Like you lost
She's
that
dead in the
model.
water.
She's dead. Like you lost 4 influence.
It's as if you took her out.
Yeah.
Basically. So like
she still has between a rock, and she still has protective instincts, which is really strong. But it's very easy for a veteran player to
play around her.
Yeah, to play around her, and so that's like she's really good in the probably newer players where you're just like, I just attack 10 and 4
or the gotcha
influence out of nowhere. Especially when people don't know what she does, and then she just starts her activation. She's like, oh, and I get 4 influence, and oh, by the way, I'm 10 tack, and oh, now you can't hit my guy who you're trying to hit who has 2 HP left. Or I feel like the veteran players know how she plays and can get around it a little bit.
I think what you're saying too is like what she wants to do, she's not able to do when she wants to do it. She needs a cleanup piece where she's starting to clean up models that are
not
close
just
to
that.
dying.
It's just like you're really projecting what she wants to do, and your opponent has ways to stop it. Whether that's good for you because you're making your opponent spend resources or activations to shut her down, maybe that is what you want to do. But I feel like
that's
in
3D chess level.
I feel like in Grange and Festival, like she's gonna be one of your main damage like because they don't do damage, and so she has to carry the weight. Probably bring her and Wendell. They need to actually damage things if you're scrumming and not playing all ball. If you're playing all ball, she's not playing, right? You're playing other Reavers, and so it's a hard fit for her because
kick sucks.
Yeah. And it's still in Grange and Shearer. Like everyone's kick is good, right? Even Wendell's kick is decent.
Yeah,
but
I agree. It's hard to put her into a list, but like for the certain times when you can actually get your things to happen, she's So I've only played her maybe like 5 times. But when I played her, it was always like I felt like she could do something. Like her card is so stacked that she has a tool for a majority of situations where you would want her to use it, right? Like the rowdy in a scrum, or the between the rock and the hard place, or
and again, her with tough eye, like she's kind of a thingy model. Like if you're playing Grange and like you just need to take a punch.
Yeah.
You know, she's doing it. Grange with tough hide, like if you're just setting that scrum and you just have tough hide models, and she's good.
I think she suffers from Amber syndrome, where it's like she's not an extreme, right? Like she does a lot of cool things, but it's like unless she can get to the point where it's worth it, the value.
I mean, she can be your damage.
She can, but it's very conditional.
Yeah,
like, you have to wait last activation, right? Like it's very projected. It's
yeah,
very telegraphed, and the unfortunate thing is, I agree with you. In a game where you normally want the extreme of something,
yeah,
the granny is kind of that middle ground of like, I'm kind of your protector piece, like I'm kind of your scrum tech piece. I can also damage things, but at a certain time, or if there's harvest markers around. So it's like you're really paying for that flexibility when you Tater. Right. And speaking of that,
hey Tater,
Tater.
Yeah,
I do love Tater. I feel like Tater was broken AF when he was released.
Yes, he was.
But again, yeah, let's get into it. I feel like with kind of the power creep in the game, like you were saying, he's not as strong anymore. Like when
he first came out, I broke a lot of people's brains and
I mean, his damage is not good. Like he doesn't get to 3 until 4 results, so he's never getting it. So he wants the sweeping charge. So he's getting your consistent 2. He's got a charge, so you're spending 2, influence on that. In my game plan, he doesn't work as well as I want him to. Like I would rather bring like Bushel and Windle, or like Bushel and Shearer. But there are situations where like counter charges is really important to have and helps,
I think you want
Thresher a lot if you just leave him like Thresher with M4 for him to countercharge someone who goes into Thresher.
You probably want him on teams where they want to scrum, and you are, especially if you are receiving, you can receive with Tater, get the ball back to your team, get a harvest marker behind him. Now it's like I control the board.
Big bubble.
Yeah, you can't get to Thresher because Tater's in your way. He's gonna charge whoever comes up first that he wants to charge. You don't always for new players, you don't always have to trigger the counter charge if you want to.
So you used to have tax 6. Like I feel like Modown was easier to get.
Yeah, Modown was easier to get.
So I mean, you get Happy Christmas. Right, you get the counter charge and then you knock everything down and charge again.
You can charge again,
right? Because everything is knocked down, right?
Right. Well, no, it's a charge during his activation. So counter charge won't.
Yes, you can charge.
I
think that's the thing that actually changed.
Yeah.
Because he used to be able to counter charge.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Oh, big sad.
But typically, what you'll do is you'll counter charge to get the mode.
Yeah.
And in
that
Christmas Land, you hope you can wrap to. Oh, I'm not going to. But that's the Modown is what endurance.
Again, with power.
But it's not as great as it used to be. I feel like countercharge bubbles in general aren't as great as they used to be. Back when I first played Masons, they were
brick marble.
Terrible.
Yeah,
brick marble.
But now
brick
it's
at
like,
2 inches.
Yeah, sure, countercharge. Okay, like you countercharge me, and I guess
I just feel like there's no situation where you get countercharged that you don't care. You know what I mean? Like
it's like people don't care that they get knocked down. Like they just won't go in.
Like he's got no knockdown push. Like it's just if you get your knockdown, here's momentum. Like enjoy your knockdown. I have a crowd out now. Like yeah. Sometimes getting that push is more important than the knockdown.
Push is especially on push.
I feel like Tater used to have more pushes or easier pushes. I don't know. I feel like he was better. I can't remember what his book was.
To get some good stuff. Yeah,
maybe it was just hack, but like. He just doesn't do any damage anymore. You're taking him for a knockdown or for a counter charge. That like, do you really need that counter charge over another Reaper? Like, and he's eating a marker to counter charge too. Like, you have to set him up. Does he eat it? Yeah, you have to eat it.
He didn't. I don't think he used to eat it. I think he used to just.
So you have to set him up, and like, so like Marbles doesn't even get set up, right? Like he needs to be within 2 of a marker, and his counter charge, he gets a knockdown or a push, a single push, and or some damage.
Yeah, and typically what people do is they'll just run a high defense model up at you, and they'll be like, okay, cool, you're counter charging me, I defensive.
I mean, most of the time, people are just gonna engage him and not counter charge. Like that's just how you get around it, or dodge into the model you want to. So I mean, I feel like counter charge has lost its value a little bit in this game, but it's still really good. It still catches people off guard. You can still push them out.
But would you say it's a negative player experience?
Countercharge. I feel like as long as everyone's aware of it, it's not negative. It's the moment when you're like, gotcha. That's when it's negative.
Yeah.
You know.
Talisman, which is thing trying to kill him.
I think it is. It kind of is. It kind of sucks. No more than
think-
goad or pinned. That sucks,
Yeah, goad
dude.
is
Goad and pinned, unpredictable movement. For,
I mean, as long as you're aware of these things,
Yeah,
they're not
then they're not
negative.
negative.
But like, it's really negative for a
It's
new
your
player
fault.
where you're like, what the fuck? Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's my turn. You charged me, and now I can't use
Do
my 4
anything?
influence
Yeah.
because you pushed me. Like that sucks.
Yeah, I taught my 8-year-old son Guild Ball about a week ago. It's super cute because he has to play it every night since then. I'm like, buddy, that's like a 90-minute game. But, like, he totally went into brisket, and I almost won
They're just like,
And I was like,
laughed
oh,
in his face.
I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna read that
Yeah.
card to you.
oh,
We'll get there when we get
yeah,
there.
we'll get there when we get there.
Oh, he doesn't. Great.
Anyway, Wendell time.
Wendell is
Wendell.
fantastic. He's your damage.
Yes,
He's
he
your
is.
damage.
I mean, if you want to do damage, I say you bring Wendell every time.
Yeah.
Because I think that one of the things that I've been talking about this whole time is what Wendell kind of counteracts is the empathy trait.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
he does not generate momentum. Which I
On
think
damage.
is like the
on damage.
Yeah,
So you
it's
can
like
dodge around him.
yeah,
You can tackle
it's the
him. Knock him
status
down.
rule. It's like the status rule.
You feel bad for him because he's a little dummy. Yeah.
But he's just like, oh, why would you hit me?
Yeah. Who else
even
has
though he's
empathy in
hitting
the
you
game?
with Wolf-
Pelage?
Blage, I think.
Yeah, Pelage does.
Why do people feel bad for her? Pretty.
She's just a lady of the evening.
That's
Why,
true.
why are you here? Like,
Yeah.
why are you playing Guild Ball?
It doesn't one of the fishermen have it too? One
I
of the
think so.
sirens has it?
Oh,
Something
maybe.
like that. Anyway, Wendell's got 6 attack. He's a 4/6, but he's got 2 inch reach. So
He's got big breakfast, so he's gonna be tackle.
Yes.
big breakfast.
And he also gets plus
attack
2/2 move.
Mhm.
So,
Yep. Yep, and he's a 1/2 because he's got Berserk, which is one of my favorite traits in the game.
yes.
Yes. I think that I think that the thing that one of the fun things to learn in learning Berserk or learning how to fight Berserk is like they want to take the damage
Yeah.
on their first attack.
Force
Yeah.
them to
And
take
so
knockdown.
forcing them to take knockdowns, forcing them to take pushes or dodges by counterattacking or doing other things is how you can work around stuff
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, Wendell consistently is putting up 12 damage a turn.
Oh, yeah.
If you're playing poorly or your dice are playing poorly.
Mhm. Or no setup.
Yep. So
I mean, he's great.
Snack
Like,
Break's good. Snack Break used to be
Disgusting.
yeah.
It used to be. Didn't he used to have to pop it when he was ready to kill you, so that he basically like ate you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was when I gave
Uh,
VP. Was that
It
when
gave,
I gave
it gave
Yeah.
extra VP too. It's
And
basically
Scourge
like
used to have it too.
Yeah, it's kind of like is it casket
Yeah,
time
kinda like
or
that.
something like that, where like you got extra. You
That was
basically
cool.
called your
Witness Me.
shot.
Witness Me was the coolest
Witness
one.
Me. Yeah, you got the
Witness
called
Me.
your shot and then you
Yeah,
killed them.
and you
all,
killed
then
yourself.
got cool stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, Snack Break's still good. I mean,
Yeah,
6
6
HP.
HP.
If this guy's I mean, I would argue, why are you taking that on him? Because he's wanting to eat models and he has 22 boxes.
Well, he has a 2 damage stack.
Yeah.
but he does have a
3.
2 damage Snack Break.
That's pretty much when you
So,
take it.
I've
That's when you
wrapped to it.
Oh,
and I'm just like,
that's
oh,
nice.
Easy. Yeah. Because, if you're taking festival and you've got a bunch of setup, you're
Mhm.
going to be wrapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that with Wendell that I think gets new players is you don't really want to charge with him because then you're
Yeah.
only getting 2 attacks instead of 4. Wendell's normally coming in after somebody's been knocked down
Yep.
or after somebody's been ganged up on and set up, and he just kind of waltzes over, starts slicing at people with his
Oh,
Wolverine.
Big Breakfast
claws.
doesn't give you
So-
attack anymore. My bad.
It
No.
used to give you attack.
Okay.
But it gives
Yeah,
you that
it
one
gives you that
influence.
2/2 move too.
Yeah.
The 2/2 move is pretty huge. because
Yeah, it's
now
really
you have
good.
that 8-inch threat
Yeah.
out of nowhere. So.
Yeah,
I mean, his counterattacks are really good too.
yeah. I mean,
He's got pushes and knockdowns. Like,
pushes and knockdowowns. Yep, where you don't. Where
Or-
momentum doesn't
yeah,
matter.
or I'll take 6 HP. Like,
Yeah, take sack break.
Yeah.
Yep.
Disgusting.
I think like if Grange and Festival want to do any kind of game plan towards getting takeouts,
Yeah,
like
right.
not 3-0, Wendell, Frollo, or both have to be taken. And like that's kind of I hate to be so like 100% this is how you have to play, but it's kind of the truth. Like
Right.
Wendell's all your damage.
Yeah.
Thresher does totally enough damage to kill 2 models
Oh,
by
yeah.
himself, where you don't need to bring Wendell. When you do bring Wendell, 1/4 is so much easier to get. And like
Yeah.
you can still play Thresher and Millstone and Jackstraw and Bushel and Wendell with only planting 3. You can like like Thresher get his marker, Wendell can get his, Bushel can get hers, and all your models that need to do things can be allocated with the influence that they need to have. And so, like, that's still like a decent team. Like, Wendell just needs 1 on him, Bushel just needs 2 or 3,
Right.
Thresher needs 5, and Jackstraw needs 3. And so sometimes Bushel doesn't need hers, and you don't need to put it. And so that's kind of how you allocate that. But what is that? 5, 11, 12. I think you're short 1, and so you have to flex 1.
Or you can just eat a harvest mark.
Or you could just eat it if you have it. Like if you didn't need to take on open, or if Thresher didn't need to eat one for whatever reason, like he charged in front and he didn't have a harvest marker near him, it just got left in the back. You have some to play with.
Yeah.
And so, and then you just add, Plowman or Lamb instead of Millstone, and then you have that extra 1 to play with if you do need it. So that's a great team. You know, you have 2 strikers, you have 2 models that take out. 2-2, 1-4, 3-0 is so easy to get. Like Thresher's your guy, man. And again, like Granger Festival needs to think about it a little more. Like, and we have Shearer.
We have Shearer. Last guy.
He's good.
When I saw this model, I was like, I'm never bringing Bushel again. Now we've already covered why you would want to bring Bushel over him, or both of them. Is typically how you'd probably want to do it. He's great. I mean, he's basically Flint with the need to get that harvest marker to get the dodge for where they go. But I mean, he's a 6'8", he's a 3-6 kick,
4-7,
4-0,
4-7
kick. Right,
football legend.
Right, football legend. Yep. So he's even better for him.
Yeah.
Momentous tackle, momentous 2-on-2, and then a momentous ball's gone
The
on 3,
momentous
which
ball's
is
gone is insane.
that's what you want.
I don't know if there's another model with because Spigot has it non-bomb.
Oh,
Bushel has it non.
yep.
Brisket probably doesn't.
Brisket
It's
has
not
it.
damage, and it's Butcher's probably not.
I think Brisket has it. Bet Brisket is what you're talking about, and I think she has it non-momentous.
Oh, it is
momentous on 2.
Okay. Yeah. So,
yeah. So, but Vet Brisket. So, don't really want to bring her as much.
But
as
it's
regular
crazy to
Brisket.
think that he's one of the few models.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. With a momentous ball.
But I mean, to that point, like Bushel getting balls gone is so much better than Shearer getting balls gone, because like she gets it, she passes it out,
And it's not
dodges out,
too,
then she aimed opens back to her,
Yeah.
and then the ball is still in play.
Yeah,
Rest of that turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you
that's
may then. You don't have to make the pass. So if you want to get around the close
Like it
control-
just yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
balls
No,
goes
that's
for
true.
close
But you're
control.
right. But
Yeah.
Bushel is getting way more out of it. Like she's basically.
I feel like she has more non-linear vectors than Shearer,
Oh.
even though they both have some, because he can keep markers to go places.
But he
So,
does have that reach. So
Yeah.
a ball's
Reach is
gone with
good.
reach.
He's
is
got the reach.
Crazy.
He doesn't have the 5-0 and he doesn't have close control.
Yeah.
He's got other things that like add to the team. And again, like if I wanted to bring like instead of Wendell, I brought Shearer, like that's a great list too. You
Yeah.
know, like he can still add to your takeout game, and he could still
I take Shearer
Cool.
into fish over Bushel because of the 2-inch reach.
Yeah, the
because
reach.
then you can work around grayscales where they go. Unpredictable stuff like that.
I don't know. Sometimes
It's better.
Sometimes fish tackles are really sucky, and like having a 5-0 close control low like ruins Fish's turn. You know, like I missed my tackle that one time, and now I have to spend 2 influence to get the ball off of you, and now I can't get my goal. And like close control is so strong. It's hard to just say like on taking Shearer. I have to see what they're taking, but I love Bushel. Like I don't think you choose between the two. I think I take both, you know? Like
Yeah, but then do you leave Jackstraw at home, or do you just
Never.
bring him as the plant? So you do Bushel, Shearer, Jackstraw.
another planter and Thresher in your mascot.
Yeah. That's a pretty good team.
It's a
Because
good
they
team.
got a lot.
And
of
if you're playing
momentous too.
fish and not Corsair, you don't need Millstone. You know, you can play your Lamb, your Plowman. Probably don't need Lamb, you don't need healing. You just take your Plowman. Maybe one day your knockdown counterattack helps, or maybe they do need to spend momentum to glide, and fish have really problem getting momentum to
That's
make
true.
their goals, and so they have to use one to glide, and they're like, fuck, I don't have enough momentum to
Their goal.
shoot your goal. That's how there's a lot of cool.
Well, doesn't Fathom? She likes having.
Fathom could
pieces.
suck a bat one. She's so good. She's so good.
I feel like these days I'm playing against Angel and Fathom, and I feel like both of them have 2-inch, both of them have flow tackles.
Angel doesn't have 2-inch, but she's still crazy.
Oh, you're right.
But Fathom and who's the minor one?
Oh,
Spade. Those models are crazy.
Yeah.
the power creep is crazy. It's gotten ridiculous.
Yeah.
Those models are nuts.
Yeah.
Let's help
Anyway.
us, please.
Yeah, Fathom with the terrain dodge got me on the last tournament. I forgot she had that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
got the model as far as
I always in my mind think it's cover, but it's terrain, and
Yeah,
like
it's
when
so
people
fast
use it
ground
off of
count.
rough ground, I'm like, what?
Yeah, you're like,
What are you doing?
Yeah.
No, I saw that game. I was watching. I saw the whole
remember.
thing too. I was like, he can just do this.
I
And
remember.
I was like, maybe he won't see it.
Oh, he saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the farmer. So we kind of got into some list building. I think that, ultimately Thresher and pull it out from there depending.
I
If
think-
you want to score goals,
yeah.
if you want to kill things.
I think Grange and Festival obviously have more flexibility in who you're taking, and the list is a little more rigid when you're playing Thresher. Kind of need 2 planters. 2 to 3 planters. You can play 3 planters if you want to. I just think having 3 creepers is
What's your so we've already done pros and cons. We went through everybody. What is your draft? Because I feel like your 12 get pretty tight.
Mm.
So what would be like what we've got some time. Got, like,
I
15
think-
minutes, so.
Sure.
I think they benefit a lot from taking both mascots.
Yes.
I think you need both mascots. I think for me personally, I struggle into the Hunter matchup. I would probably take Festival once I've practiced it, just because if I run into Hunters, and it might just be like one of the strongest players in our meta plays Hunters, and I can't get past it.
Yep.
Not that I can't get past it, but it would help a lot more if I had a better game plan into that. If I saw a list with just Thresher and both mascots, I'm like, cool, that's a great 12. You know, you don't need any other captains. If I saw Grange and Festival on a list, I'd not be worried about that Farmers player. Me personally, because I think Thresher is just so much. In terms of who I want to bring, I mean, Jack, Bushel, Windle
Yes.
are all staples.
I think those two make every 12.
Plowman, Lamb, Shearer are probably, and Millstone. How many do I have to drop?
So you have 12 total. So you took 2 captains.
All right,
2
15, right?
mascots.
Yes, there's 15 players, so I need to drop 3.
Bet honor.
So
Yeah,
I'm dropping Vet Honor,
Honor.
1 captain, and
Great.
Hera.
Yeah.
Like
You
those
would
are
drop Fallow, huh?
Oh well, I mean,
we don't need.
if I'm
Hera
running
or
Festival, I think Fallow's pretty good.
Yeah, there's 17
I-
players, but you dropped 1
Oh, there's
captain.
17?
There's 17, so you have to
So I have to drop 5?
You dropped Green, right? So now you have to drop 4 more.
5. Okay, so I'm dropping Grange. I'm dropping
Be honor.
Be Honor. I'm dropping Harrow.
Right.
So
This is where it gets
I'm dropping Amber. Well,
Okay.
yeah, because I'm not
Yeah.
running my Grange
You're
list.
not running Green.
If I'm running Grange, I'm running Amber.
Fallow.
And I have to drop 1 more.
Fallow.
I think Festival needs Fallow in matchups. I would say
Oh man.
me personally might drop Lamb after running Festival, and I feel like Lamb really adds to this healing kind of list that they can't just get past all of this raw healing. Maybe I do run Lamb. I think I would need to play a little bit just to see what I would need. Whether it's dropping, it would be Lamb or Fallow or Shearer or Plowman, maybe one of those. I would have to play around with it, but I think those 4 are easy drops for me. I maybe even drop Festival again. I don't know.
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you think, Regan? Similar thoughts.
I typically, it's been a minute since I've played Farmers, but I'm just gonna go off of when I last played Farmers because I haven't played Festival. I would not take Festival in the tournament without some reps, so I dropped Festival. I would probably drop Peck just because I like playing Buckwheat so much that I like to.
Heck is instant win into Alex.
Yeah.
Instant. It's like so easy to win versus Alex.
I know. It's just like we don't have a ton of Alks anymore because Octave's jumping all around, doing all kinds of stuff these days. But
I feel like they're
if I
like the
knew how
boogeymen of the meta, though. Like if you were going to like a national event.
okay, if I'm going to a national event, I would probably bring it back then. So then I gotta drop 5 players. You said
So you dropped.
You dropped
4
what?
players.
Four squads.
So 4 more.
Okay, I would drop. I'd drop Plowman. I would drop Bet Honor. Should have said her first.
Yeah.
Sorry, Plowman. Drop Arrow, as for all reasons we've covered, and then
One
I
more.
would probably
say Bushel. I would say
No.
that. Okay.
No, I'd include Bushel because that 3-0 list. I'm actually probably gonna start playing with that.
I think the 3-0 list
I
you
think-
kind of need Amber in it, and like
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's why I'm saying I don't think I would drop Amber or Bushel.
maybe Milk. It's
No.
hard, yeah.
Not if they're taking.
Not if
Yeah.
I'm taking Thresher.
It's not-
Milk's not- we didn't really.
I think I drop Tater.
Oh, I would
Tater.
drop.
I
That's
would
true.
drop Tater.
I would drop Tater. instead.
Tater, as we've established, doesn't really do a ton. So
Yeah, I would
yeah,
drop Tater.
so that'd be my 12. And I bring the 2 play-ups for sure.
Yeah.
I love Lamb.
Lamb and Sheer are great.
I love Lamb.
I love Lamb.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same thinking as Kevin. I would take Festival Pressure.
No, he would take Festival Grange. Don't listen to him.
Yeah.
He would never take Thresher.
I don't play Super Bowl. I'm
Okay.
a dirty Brewers
Setup
player.
kind of person.
Dirty, dirty Brewers player. I play Corcoran and not Pressure. Tapper.
Yeah.
So I'm a dirty, grimy drunkard. So.
But I love farmers. I play farmers. I used to play them a lot. They're like a really fun team to play. I love the mechanic. It's just so thematic and fun and cool. And you're planting little markers and it's fun.
Yeah,
The extra resources cool that other people don't get to have.
and I think every mini has a character.
Mhm.
You know, like you can tell like that's a farmer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like
That's Guild Ball in general,
Oh,
honestly.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
their iconography on everything is so good and like it's so easy to like tell
Yeah.
what.
Oh,
Character
that's
easily.
a lot of
Like
fun.
character design is so good.
oh yeah. Any closing thoughts, Joe, on farmers or in general?
Man, farmers are just fun. I'm missing farmers, and I think I'm gonna get them back onto the pitch once I get my final 2 painted. I do.
I think just Buckwheat Bushel and Jackstraw are like really fun models to play. And I play them in every list I play because I think they're so much fun to play. And like you gotta remember, you're not playing to win, you're playing to have fun.
Yes.
So like they let me have fun and win. It's super fun.
Yes. Yeah, they're a very forgiving team.
Yeah.
As we've kind of covered.
Yeah.
They can play on all ends of the spectrum. They play really well in the middle.
Yeah.
And so like if you're looking to get into the game, you don't need a ton of models to do it. You don't even really need the play ups all that much to have fun. Like
True.
the play ups just add extra on top of everything that you already bring. So yeah, hope this was fun.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
fun for me, guys.
Yeah,
for
thanks for
having me
coming,
on.
man.
It
It's
was
super fun.
Just send reminding, send us the pics. and
I'll send you
post
the
them
pics.
throughout the
Yeah.
podcast, and then I mean we got about 8 minutes. Have you played War Machine before, Regan?
I have not played War
Oh.
Machine before. The Guild Ball was the very first minis game I
Really?
played, and it broke minis games for me because
Yeah.
even
It's
since
hard.
I'm like, there's nothing that scratches the itch like Guild Ball. The playbook, it's just amazing. I have so many friends that want me to get into GW stuff, and I'm like, I hate reactive rolls, I hate defensive rolls, I hate all these things.
If
I'm like,
there was
I want
a-
to roll dice and say I picked this, and
Yeah.
know that that thing happens.
If
And-
there's an army style game that had like Guild Ball mechanics, you would still be into it. It's not like the skirmish versus army aspect.
No,
of it at
yeah,
all.
I mean, I like the small count model thing, although I'm one to talk because I own every Guild Ball model that exists and every limited edition model and everything. But like I don't have an opposition to playing big army games. I just know like
They don't play
I
as
know what
well.
I like.
Yeah,
I like Guild
yeah.
Ball.
I'm with you too. I'm like I only play Guild Ball. I played some Malifaux. I think Malifaux's a great game. I think it's kind of gotten a lot of there's too many rules, and so like this is like a nice simple game. But like I played War Machine first. It's like nostalgia
Yes.
for me. Like
That's
to go
my-
back and play some games. So that's
So
I was excited.
about the acquisition.
Yeah, excited about the announcement.
Yeah. Any thoughts on acquisition? Because they got a lot.
I mean, they just got a lot of IP, right? I know the
Mhm.
thing with War Machine was just how bloated it was. So I don't.
Yeah.
I know that Matt and Rich, like that's how Guild Ball got started. So I know that
Theme
game's
Forge
really,
game.
really like kind of the lifeblood of what Guild Ball became. Is it was
Mhm.
like, hey, what if we played like a more more streamlined and fun version of War
Yeah.
Machine? So yeah,
Well, love
but yeah,
farmers.
you guys
Play
want to
some
rip on
farmers.
it? That's
Oh
fine.
no, I mean pretty much. I was just wanting to see if you had any experience in gaming because a lot of us started with War Machine,
Mm.
including the creators of Guild Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they were super competitive War Machine players.
I mean, I started 40K, and there was like this peak moment in Mark II where it was like almost overtaking. Like it was so
It
big
did over
that it was like bigger at LVO than
Yes.
40K. Not bigger, but like competing, and like that was huge. And like I feel like it got 40K to where it was now, because 40K was like shit.
we're losing.
like-
yeah.
They're coming at us, and then Mark 3 was like drop the ball. I think.
And War Machine, from what I remember, is that no models are retired, right? So like everything that exists is like.
No, there's a whole legacy line now when
Yeah.
it changed from 3 to 4.
Oh, I see.
And there's this whole like it kind of ruined the entire community because all their models kind of not all of them. I don't want to get into it. There's a legacy version and a prime version, and the prime is like what you can use at events, and only certain amount of old models are in prime.
Yeah.
So people who own the whole collection, like half of their collection is no longer used in competitive formats, and everyone's like, "Well, you could just play legacy." No, you can't. Like no one's playing
Right.
like fun
like
War
Magic.
Machine.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one's playing casual War Machine. We're all playing competitive War Machine. You know? Like if there was like a casual version of Guild Ball where you can like set your models up anywhere on the board, no one would be playing that. We're playing the one that tournaments. Like we're gonna play at tournament. You know what I mean? So
Unless we're practicing.
unless
That'd be
like-
good, like
yeah.
practice turn 2, you know?
Sure.
Practice.
Yeah.
I think turn 1 is probably more powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, your kickoff or receive.
Oh man, I had one of the worst turn 1s I've ever had in the last tournament, and
Those
as
feel
soon
bad.
as I saw it, I was like, "This cost me the game." I see it right now. I did exactly the wrong thing.
That's always the worst because it's always just your fault, and like you could have just played
Yeah,
it
it was
better.
fully me.
And like
I just played models out of order, and I
Mhm.
did the wrong things. I was playing a vet boreless, and I set Cinnamon up for the +2/+2.
Yeah.
And then I moved her.
and you're like,
Oh, so-
no one's in +2/+2 anymore.
And I was like, oh shit. Like I just did the wrong thing. I'm like, I totally like I'm just dead.
Yeah, you're supposed to put on a model that hasn't.
It didn't help that the guy I was playing like was like a very seasoned Butchers player. And so he like knew exactly what I wanted to do, and he saw me like that, and he was like, "Okay," and then he just like
Sure.
marched over me, and I was like, "Oh, this sucks." But yeah,
Any
That's-
closing thoughts or any shout outs or anything you want to do?
oh man, just shout out to the Comet Quest crew in general.
Yeah.
These guys,
Yeah.
Octave, like they're keeping the SoCal meta alive. I was the pundit for one of the 2 pundits for San Diego County way back in season 2. Not that it mattered, but that meta's pretty much dead. I have tried to rebuild it a few times. It really hasn't gone anywhere. For a long time, I had a sign up in my shop that was like, if you want to learn how to play Guild Ball, email this
Yeah,
email
contact
account
this
that
person.
I set up, like SoCal Guild Ball. I literally have never received a single email to that address. Finally, my store took the sign down in like COVID, and I was like, this game is dead anyway. It doesn't really
Aw.
matter. So yeah, anyway, these guys are like my community of Guild Ballers. I come and play when I can. Sometimes I'll just bug up for a quick, hour drive to play a game and come back home. But yeah, this is a great game. Hope you're into it. If you need tips or advice, hit any of us up.
If you're in San Diego, hit up Reagan.
If you're in San Diego or
I feel like
Vista,
there's a few players now in San Diego.
there are a few. They're kind of coming back.
Yeah.
But it's kind of slow. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Cool. Yeah, cool.
And
Thanks,
then,
guys.
there was one more thing I was. Are you going to the tournament on July?
Oh.
No, we already have a family vacation on that day.
I don't think
So,
I'll be going either.
Summertime's hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes hard, but yeah, we'll get back on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well,
There'll be more.
yeah. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Regan, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Regan.
And taking a break on your family vacation.
Oh, no
from
problem.
This
Yeah.
podcast. This has been episode we don't even know anymore.
Episode X.
Episode
The farmers episode.
The farmers.
7.
Yes.
The one with the farmers.
Yeah.
And yeah, the great episode.
Cool.
Great guild. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Our tools are sharp.
Yeah.